Sit back, my friends, grab a beer, or a 6-pack or maybe a 12-pack. Relax and enjoy the show. This is going to be a very long one, as this story covers nearly 50 years. It has more ups and downs than the wildest roller coaster in the world. And to put this out there right up front, to anyone wanting to say we should split, don't waste your breath, as that is never going to happen. I love this woman with every fiber of my being, and in fact, I simply don't know how not to love her. I should also say I am writing this mostly for myself, as a recent trigger has blown open the floodgates, and I am swimming in emotions and trying to process it all. That said, I would welcome any constructive comments, and yes, I am sure there will be plenty calling me a dumbass for staying, but as you will see, it is a two-way street. Also, please keep in mind that this is entirely from my perspective and memories. We met our senior year in high school. She was infatuated with my best friend, and I thought she was the most beautiful and sexiest girl I had ever seen. My friend had no interest in her, and I pursued her hard. I finally won her over, and we started dating. She was actually my very first girlfriend and sexual partner, and yes, I was a virgin. I was not her first. I fell hard for her and knew I wanted to be with her the rest of my life. After high school, we went off to a local university, same school, although she was in a 2-year program and I was in a 4-year program. I could not find my focus at school. I had always been a fairly good student. I left school after the first year and went to work full-time. She met a guy in her same program and became friendly. Yes, you can see where this is going. Towards the end of her program one Saturday evening, she said she had to go to the library to study. Yes, I sort of stalked her, as this was quite out of her character, and she was not home after 1 a.m. when I went by her house. I did not confront her on this and let it slide. We had gotten engaged to her last year in college and were planning a wedding after graduation. A month or so before the wedding, she called off the wedding and said she was going to go to a friend's house for a week and then to visit her grandmother for a week to find herself, and we would figure out where we stood after that. I was heartbroken, but she was adamant on going. I told her I would drive her. She did not have a car to the friend's house, but she said no. She wanted to do it on her own and would hitchhike. During the week, something came up. I don't remember what, and I found the girlfriend's number and called her, trying to get in touch with my girlfriend, although I probably should not refer to her that way as we were broken up. Yep, you guessed it, she was not there. And the girlfriend had no idea what I was talking about her visiting and had no idea where she was. Right then and there, I knew she was with the guy from school. She did not call me the entire week and eventually did call from her grandmother's and asked me to pick her up at the bus stop several towns away at midnight for her return. Again, I did not confront her and picked her up. On the way home, she asked me if I would still marry her. Like the idiot I am, I, of course, said yes. As I said, I love this woman with all my heart and just wanted to spend my life with her. I suppressed what I knew and picked up our lives where we left off. We got married, and life moved on, or so I thought. Fast forward to a few weeks before our first anniversary, and I thought I had a hernia as I worked on construction, so it was entirely possible. I went to the emergency room, and they couldn't find anything and said I should see a urologist. I basically dismissed this and went about my way. My now wife decided I needed to follow through, and she made an appointment for me with the local urologist and told me to go or don't come home to prove how serious she was about me going, as she knew I would otherwise blow it off. I went, and within minutes, he told me I had a serious problem. I was scheduled for surgery 2 days later and was ultimately diagnosed with cancer 9 days before our first anniversary. I went through scans and such, and the doctor told me I had a 50-50th chance of living 2 years and a less than 10% chance of seeing my 25th birthday. I went through another major surgery and endured over a year of chemotherapy. Needless to say, I survived despite the odds, obviously, since I am writing this. Life went on yet again. Fast forward another 15 years, and we have 2 young sons, and life is pretty good. I knew what had happened before we were married, and several years earlier, I had begun pressing her to admit what had happened. One day we were lying in bed making love, and she finally admitted she had cheated, or sort of, as we were technically broken up, and I am sure the reason she had in fact broken up was to justify sleeping with this guy. She also admitted to the library night, when we weren't broken up, and that she had gone to his apartment but did not have sex because he was drunk and couldn't perform, but she had every intention to fuck this guy that night. She then went on to confess that the affair continued for several months after our wedding. Honestly, Since I pretty much knew about the library and her week away, that was almost a relief, as she was finally coming clean, even if it did take 15 years to do so. But the fact that she continued to fuck this guy after our marriage absolutely gutted me. She had been fucking him, and then came home to me like nothing ever happened. She was obviously a great liar. She told me she ended it a few months after our wedding and told him she wanted to make our marriage work. I should also say here that, because of all that has happened to both of us as children and cancer and all, we are both experts at internalizing and compartmentalizing our feelings and emotions. When she admitted the affair, I simply packed it away, almost like it had never happened. Yeah, I know, not healthy, but that was how I dealt with things. Life went on yet again. I am sure you can see a pattern here. Okay, so fast forward another 15 years or so, see a cycle here, and our marriage was not great. We were more like roommates and, in fact, hadn't had sex in like 18 months. I found a semi-dating/sex site with a blog portion to it, and I began posting. My posts were not blatantly sexual, mostly funny stories and GP stuff. It was a global website and had people from all over the world there. Well, lo and behold, I became the #1 blogger based on likes, replies, and such, and was soaking up the attention. I had severe self-esteem issues and did not consider myself even remotely sexy. I honestly did not believe I was worthy of desire, and I truly felt my wife no longer desired me either. I had not even looked at another woman sexually in our entire relationship, going on 30 years at that point, and my wife would often tell me I was ignorant of other women flirting or hitting on me. I simply had no interest. I had the love of my life. Well, one thing led to another. Yes, you can see where this is going, and I started corresponding with several women. Some of these chats became more flirty and, eventually, sexual. One woman in particular was quite persistent, and ultimately I agreed to meet with her. She lived one state away, for lunch one day. She all but threw herself at me, and although we only kissed that day, I was hooked on the attention and having this woman not only obviously consider me desirable but actually pursue me. That all led to a 5-month-long sexual affair. It took me that long to figure out how badly I had messed up, and I finally broke it off. I immediately told my wife, even though it took her 15 years to tell me, and I know it broke her heart. I felt she should know and be allowed to make her own decision as to our future. I gave her what space she needed, but we did not separate. We did not talk about it much, and she only asked a very few questions when I confessed. As I said above, she is nearly as good as me at internalizing and compartmentalizing, and after a while, our lives again went back to normal, if you could ever consider our lives normal. I know the affair was the biggest mistake of my life and something I will regret until the day I die. For those thinking this was a revenge affair, no, it was not, as I wasn't even thinking about my wife's past indiscretions at that time. I was feeling lost in my marriage and got caught up in my selfish need to feel desired. I was intoxicated by the attention. The sex was at best bland and no comparison to the sex my wife had in our past. Yes, there was, of course, a bit of excitement with something new, but definitely not worth all the heartache I caused. I should also be clear, I have never even looked at another woman since that fateful day. I have had zero interest in any other woman and have very much reverted to oblivion regarding the opposite sex. I have been 1000% faithful since that fateful day and would never do anything so stupid ever again. I am regretful for what I did and not that I got caught, as technically I did not get caught. I confessed. And life goes on yet again. Fast forward a few more years, and a business I owned failed due to the financial crisis of 2008, which forced me into personal bankruptcy. We lost almost everything. Damn, the hits just kept on coming. We managed to once again reinvent ourselves, and today we are in a pretty good situation, living a great life, mostly financially secure, and looking at retirement. A few days ago, my wife and I went out to our favorite winery. We were having lunch and a glass of wine, and we were talking. Many years before my affair, I had bought her a 3-carat diamond wedding set. When our younger son was getting ready to ask his girlfriend to marry him, she gave him that wedding set to give to his fiancée. During our conversation, those rings came up, and she said, "You know, those rings had bad memories for me, and that is why I gave them to our son." I responded at the time that no, I had not thought about that. I had never even considered that and had found it strange that she had given away the ring set, particularly without having discussed it with me first. Wow, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It triggered me and flooded back all the emotions I had so neatly shut away. The past several days, I have been treading water and trying desperately to work through it all. I am reliving the shame I have for having hurt the one I love so deeply, as well as the hurt I felt from her indiscretion. I have been questioning everything. Why did she do what she did? Does she have any idea how deeply she hurt me? Why did I let her off when I knew she had cheated before our marriage? Why did I even pick her up at the bus stop? Why did I let her off again when she finally came clean 15 years later? Why did it take her 15 years to confess when I did it immediately? How could she lie to me all those years? What other information has she not told me? She had plenty of chances to stray at other times in our lives, so did she? Does she even really love me, this one? I know she does. How could I have been so stupid, naive, or blind all those years? How could I have been so stupid as to break my own vows and compromise my own integrity, and for what? How could I have hurt the love of my life so deeply? What the fuck was I thinking? Why did, for the first time in my life, I do all the thinking with my little head? How could I possibly risk losing everything and everyone I cared about in life?